YouTube Ozic going the GOAT House is back, and we made it. We made it to the top 10 players of 2020 voted by the fans, who went from 100 all the way down to 11 so far. Had a lot of surprises along the way as well. Might be a couple more surprises left here in just this side, inside this top 10 right here. So really excited to finish this series off here, and then we can put this all together, make a video for anybody that didn't see it or would prefer that. And we can take a look at how many players each team had too. But before we get started with this top 10, let's talk about how this was created. Once again, we got a bunch of fans that participated here. They each created their top 50 players based on right now. We put those lists together, and then we had one big top 100 list. Very cool. This was one of my favorite series we've done here on the channel so far. So excited to do more videos and series like this involving the fans. Here are the participants, 11 of them that created their lists. A lot of work went into this, so I appreciate these guys very much. Very cool. And again, we're going to try to do more things like this, try to get other people chances to be involved on activities with the channel here. 60K, that's a subscriber goal by week 1 of the NFL. Please help us out by subscribing. Full NFL content. We got you covered in season. Predictions, score predictions, power rankings, all that and more updated every single week. Link in the description for that Twitter, the podcast, anything that you may need there. Twitter's a must follow in my opinion. Always talking NFL, talking during live games. I'd recommend checking it out and would really appreciate that. Let's recap the last episode, which was 11 through 20. Went from 20 down to 11. Number 20 was Travis Kelce. Number 19 was Mitchell Schwartz, and number 18 was Chris Jones. We had 3 Kansas City Chiefs in a row. Saquon Barkley was number 17, TJ Watt 16. Von Miller came in at 15, Bobby Wagner 14. Lamar Jackson, a bit of a shocker there, came in at 13. Didn't make the top 10. Jamal Adams, now a Seattle Seahawk, at number 12. And then Quentin Nelson, the guard of the Colts, came in at number 11 to end last night's episode. And now we got the top 10. A little bit of a surprise here at 10. Not really maybe the player, but what went on here. Christian McCaffrey, the Panthers running back, to be number 10, and you see the highest rank was 3. Not really surprising. The lowest rank, there actually was somebody that did not rank. Remember, they did rank top 50. It's still a big shocker here. Each person did not rank 100. They ranked 50, but somebody did not include Christian McCaffrey, arguably the best running back in football, in their rankings. So that might have pushed him down a little bit, but he did have the highest rank of 3, and in pretty solid ranks, you know, around the top 10 as well. But Christian McCaffrey comes in at number 10. I'm sure there's going to be some confusion on why he wasn't ranked, I suppose, but very interesting there. The highest rated running back, though, on the list. So according to the fans, McCaffrey, the best back in football, but comes in number 10, best player of 2020. Number 9, we got Deandre Hopkins. So we still got the 3 top receivers left heading into this day, this episode. Deandre Hopkins comes off the board first at rank number 9 for 2020. Highest rank was up at 8, lowest rank down at 24. So, you know, when you start to see guys in the top here, I guess that's a little bit of a gap in between those numbers. Not too crazy. But yeah, his highest rank was only 1 above where he's actually ranked. Now with the Arizona Cardinals, I'm very excited to see that, you know. Really no giant. I mean, Watson's probably better than Kyler Murray at this point. Murray can be just as good probably, but at the same time, the Cardinals will throw the ball more than anybody. They run more receivers out there. So how's that going to be? Is DeAndre Hopkins going to open things up for the other receivers? Is that going to mean, you know, does that mean he's going to get less targets? Or since they air the ball out a ton and he's kind of that key important piece of the offense, you know, is he going to get more action? Either way, he's going to be dominant, and the Cardinals offense should be high-powered. I'm just really excited to see it because there's a lot of questions there on you know, who will get, we know he'll get the most targets, but just can't wait to see that new school to the NFL type of offense there with DeAndre Hopkins in there. So he's at number 9. Number 8, another receiver, Michael Thomas, comes in at 8. And a bit of a difference on high and low where he was ranked. Somebody had him all the way up at 6, which is very realistic and not far off from this 8. And then somebody had him down at 34, which was a bit surprising. And maybe that was the difference to be the second best receiver on this list. Michael Thomas, but still up at number 8. You know, yeah, whether you agree with, you know, him being 8 or not, I think we're in the ballpark here, perhaps. but a dominant receiver that's actually getting better. You know, we knew he's physical. We know he has the contested catch ability. I think every single, maybe not even year, every week possibly, it feels like his footwork is getting better, and he's becoming one of the top route runners, and that's really not a guy nobody really expected to be at the top in that category for sure. But absolutely dominant, and yeah, again, it's scary that it feels like he's getting better and better. He comes in at number 8 on the top 100 players of 2020 voted by the fans. Number 7, quite the coincidence here. We had the 3 top receivers ranked in a row there, 9, 8, 7. Julio Jones makes it at number 7 and known as the best receiver in football, according to this Goat House fans list here. Highest rank of 5, lowest rank of 29. This doesn't really surprise me. You know, I had Michael Thomas as number 1 receiver, but you can argue any of these guys, and this doesn't really surprise me because, you know, you always got the feeling that most of the people in the world like Julio Jones. But that also surprised me that somebody ranked him down at 29 because I think everyone is usually consistent on their opinion on Julio Jones. 29 is still a pretty good rank, but that was a little surprising. But he still makes it number 7, highest rank 5. So you see he actually made it inside the top 5 for somebody's list there, but he comes in at number 7. Very cool, I thought, that we happened to be a coincidence that the 3 receivers got ranked in a row because not that many people had them right next to each other, so it just ends up that way. Pretty crazy. So Julio Jones, top receiver on the list, number 7 on the list. Now on to number 6. Number 6 is George Kittle, the best tight end on the list, the best tight end in football, and he just got his big, well-deserved contract extension, getting paid like a top-tier receiver. Definitely well-deserved. You know, I think the tight end position is starting to get more value or recognition. You know, I think the NFL values it very much, but recognition because you have to realize how much the tight end, how much responsibility they have, and George Kittle is a great example, a prime example of that because he can block at a high level, he can catch the ball at a high level and run after the catch. We've seen that as well, but you know, the game plan could be around him against a tight end when the defense is kind of watching film and getting ready for games. And he's, you know, only 26 years old, continuing to get better. That's the scary thing. Comes in at number 6. We've seen a high rank of 3. Somebody ranked him all the way up at 3. Not super surprising, but it's pretty crazy seeing tight end at 3, but well-deserved. In a lowest rank of 18, so not too far down there. But when we're talking top-tier guys, maybe some people would be surprised he was down at 18. But George Kittle, best tight end in football, according to the fans, and number 6, according to the fans. On to the top 5 players. If you're keeping track, you know who they are. Number 5 is going to be the best cornerback in football, and Stephon Gilmore of the Patriots. Highest rank 5, and that's where he ended up being ranked. Lowest rank 13, and why is that? It's because, you know, why is it match his highest rank? It's because how consistent he was ranked. You see there's not much of a gap between 5 and 13, and most of the ranks were right around that 5 range, you know, compared to majority by a long shot of guys in this list were pretty spread out. So a consistent view on this cornerback here, Stephon Gilmore, for the fans. So interesting to see that for sure. But yeah, just absolutely dominant every part of his game. You know, you can't pick a part of his game that's best. You know, there's some corners that are good at attacking the ball. There's some corners that are good at just being physical, sticking on their receiver, being sticky, you know, in man coverage. Some are good at coming up and make a hit. Some of them have a little bit of that, a mixture of those things. Gilmore has everything, you know, everything. The instincts maybe is what pops out the most. You know, you could appreciate having instincts and play recognition, knowing the ball's where it's gonna go after it was snapped. You know, in that split second, you have to decide what the play is going to be or where the ball is going to go. So that, I think, maybe is the most impressive. But my point is, he has everything to his game, and he was good in Buffalo, but it is crazy to see the improvements. You know, once it comes to New England, and it's not really, you know, New England's known for making players better, and yeah, they definitely deserve credit. But you know, sometimes players from New England go somewhere else and they don't end up being as good. But in my opinion, that would not be the case for Gilmore because you can see the pure talent he showcases on the field every single game. So 5 makes the top 5 for Stephon Gilmore. Run of the top 4. Number 4 is going to be Khalil Mack, the Bears edge rusher. Highest rank of 3, lowest rank of 16. So a little bit of a split there. But yeah, most of his ranks were a little higher towards that 3, obviously, which makes him number 4 best player of 2020 voted by the fans here. Khalil Mack, Yeah, we're in agreement. The best edge rusher in football, the actual edge rusher, plays a 3-4 for the Bears. When he was on the Raiders, he played a 4-3 end, though, so he can do either. And just an absolute game changer, impact player. It's very obvious. I think some people will probably disagree, and we already kind of saw that on Twitter a little bit leading up to this episode. But, maybe because he had a little less production last year, but the whole focus was on him. He had multiple guys blocking him. Guys were hurting the Bears' defense, and he's still able to make those impact plays. Even though if you look at the sacks, he still made those crucial sacks or forced fumbles at the right time. And he's absolutely dominant at any given time. You can consider him the best defensive player in all of football there, but he comes in at number 4. We're on to the top 3. We got a quarterback. It is Russell Wilson, number 3. Highest rank was 2, so nobody ranked him 1, but pretty darn close. Lowest rank was down at 8. That maybe even though 8's a good number and it's not too far off a 2 or 3, where he's actually ranked 8, it may be a little surprising. It's surprising that somebody doesn't ranks him outside the top 5, but there are some really good football players, so it is tough to narrow it down. You can't have 5 guys ranked in the top 3. Sometimes I feel like people expect so many guys to be ranked higher. This many guys are too low. It doesn't really work like that. But Russell Wilson comes in at 3. Obviously, consistency stands out. Clutch, at the end of games. They don't call him dangerous for nothing, too, because he makes the plays with his legs, throws on the run, fits the ball in the tight windows constantly. And he's, compared to a lot of these other quarterbacks that constantly winning the Super Bowl, Mahomes last year, those guys always got dominant offensive lines. It seems like you only can go so far, unless you have a dominant quarterback. But I think offensive line, protecting that quarterback's one thing. And Russell Wilson really hasn't had that offensive line that the other elite quarterbacks have had. And that just makes it that much more impressive. He's got a pretty good system, some pretty good talent around him other than the offensive line. But still, definitely an elite football player, an elite quarterback. Number 3 makes the cut for top 3. Number 2 and number 1 left to reveal here. We're going to wait till tomorrow. I'm kidding. We're going to go right now. Everyone knows who they are. And Aaron Donald is number 2 on the list. Highest ranked 1. He had a few number 1 votes, actually, which really isn't surprising. And he had a lowest rank of 7, which is a little surprising, I suppose. But 1 to 7, yeah, not too far apart there. Comes in at number 2. Really why he didn't, the ranks didn't really matter here for him. Maybe if you're looking at, if he wasn't ranked at 7, he would be 1. It actually wasn't the case. It was just who's number 1. We know who he is. Just got that many number 1 votes, and his lowest rank was at 2. But Aaron Donald, absolutely dominant. It's crazy that a non-edge rusher, even though you can consider him a pass rusher, he's not an actual edge rusher, could be the best pass rusher in football. That is pretty freaking wild, if you ask me. And he's an elite run stopper. We know that. We know he can play a 3-4 end. We know he can play a 4-3 defensive tackle, 3 technique. It wouldn't surprise me if he can dominate the nose tackle position, even though maybe he's a little smaller than most nose tackles, or he can dominate a 4-3 end position. That's how good he is. But currently at the 3-4 end for the LA Rams, they're absolutely dominant. Again, I think the combination of elite run stopping ability and elite pass rush, and the elite pass rush is crazy because he's not an edge rusher, which is a 4-3 end or a 3-4 outside linebacker. Those guys are supposed to be the best pass rushers in football, and you can argue that some of them could be, like Khalil Mack, and at any given time, some other guys can be, but that's just what makes Aaron Donald stand out so much. It's an absolute dominant man. And if you're running his way, it just seems like you're running into a wall. Seeing him clothesline so many people when he's double teamed at the same time, getting the amount of times he gets in the backfield, the impact plays, the game-changing plays, it's ridiculous. So understandable why he got number 1 vote, why he's number 2 on the list. But number 1 is Patrick Mahomes, highest rank 1. He had several number 1 votes. Lowest rank was number 2. So those people that voted Aaron Donald 1 were the ones that voted Patrick Mahomes 2 under, definitely realistic. But Patrick Mahomes coming number 1, not a surprise. Most important position in football, but you even take that away, he's the most dominant player in football, especially in an offensive league. All the time throughout history, we've seen guys with tremendous arm strength, but have they been accurate? Have they been, the smart quarterbacks? Have they been able to, make moves on, make plays with their legs. It's extremely, extremely rare. And Mahomes has the total package talent. And that's why there's already people saying he could end up being the best of all time, and he's barely even played, it feels like, yet. And that's because there really hasn't been anybody that's had all of the traits combined, packed into one. And he's just starting to understand defenses, and that made him even better. At times last year, you could start to see, he said he hasn't really fully understand it yet, and maybe that's accurate, but you could actually start to see it. I remember a Raiders game early last year. I felt like that was when he started to read defenses and change the plays completely at the line, and every time he changed the play, it worked in his favor. So he's just getting going, in that aspect there, and that's a scary thing. And the Chiefs are defending Super Bowl champions, and they're the favorites for this year, and they're favorites for many years to come. Because they're a talented team, they have other very solid talent, but it's mainly because of this guy, and they had to extend him. They had to pretty much pay him no matter what he wanted, because you can't find it's hard enough to find an average quarterback. Just think about it. How many hits, how many misses there are, how many quarterbacks that are worth a draft pick are in every draft class. There's only a handful, and then we're talking about the ones that actually pan out. It is extremely, extremely rare, and they found the rarest of the rare, so they had to pay him no matter what he asked for, and there was a reason for that for sure. Well-deserved, number one vote here, well-deserved contract. And I would agree with putting him number one on the list here, but you can definitely make arguments. And I can argue myself. Like, I find myself debating a top 100 football players list because we're really not going off position. I talked about Aaron Donald, how this guy is dominant pass rusher when he's really not supposed to be the most dominant pass rusher in football. Talk about Lamar Jackson. That's the guy that everyone is kept on their toes about. Talk about, how the game plan is for him. He has a combination of so many football skills, and he was defending MVP for a reason. So you can make the case for guys like those for sure. But not a surprise to see Patrick Mahomes at number one. Can't wait to see your guys' thoughts in the comments down there. We can recap all this in a separate video, talk about which teams had how many players. It'd be pretty cool. But we have a lot of other content to get to for the NFL season, and we'll have full coverage with upgrades to our content for this season. I cannot wait. Again, here were the participants for this. Very excited about this one. I definitely want to do more things like this because this was very fun to do here. So I appreciate these people a lot for putting the time to make their rankings there. It's sometimes it's fun. It's for sure fun to do it, but sometimes it can get a little hectic, trying to make up your mind, especially when comparing players that play different positions. So appreciate them very much. You can find them on Twitter. You can see their names, or you can see them in the chat or the comments here on YouTube. You can discuss with them. We'll try to keep more people involved. I recommend following the Twitter for more updates in that and what we got going forward, and then for NFL coverage on the Twitter as well. There's a link down below for that. Please subscribe, smash that like button. Would really appreciate all that as well. Cannot wait for football. Texans, Chiefs, not too far away. So pumped for that. So hopefully you join us for all of our content covering the NFL. That is going to do it for this one. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.